Welcome to Expand Your Empire, the podcast where women stop deferring wealth and start building financial power. I'm Amanda Taylor, investor, strategist, and disruptor of outdated money rules. It's time to own your worth, grow your assets, and build a legacy that lasts. Welcome back to the Expand Your Empire podcast. I am excited today because I have another great guest and the first non-female guest we've had on the podcast. But as soon as I found out about Ethan, I knew I had to have him on my podcast. So I'm going to introduce Ethan. I met his mother at a conference that I was speaking at in Ireland, and we became fast friends because I knew we had the same mission. And as soon as she started telling me about her son, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. This kid is incredible. And I knew that I had to meet him. So Ethan, welcome to the Expand Your Empire podcast.
Thank you so
I
much.
am so excited that you're here, and I can't wait to tell everybody what you do and why you do it. So I'm going to let you tell them why I have you on this podcast.
Why I'm here. Hey, well, I'm very honored to be here. It's a pleasure. I'm lucky the connection was made because it really is something that I'm so passionate about, and that is finance. I think it's weird for someone potentially to be this interested in it, but I like to use it as my bit of my personality trait. But I'm a young person. I'm a freshly 19-year-old Australian, so I'm an international guest. I don't know if you've had an international guest yet. Um,
I had Ireland, but we won't
we
tell.
did. Okay. We'll keep it a secret.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm young, but I'm taking a different path. I'm currently working on a startup full time, which is related to financial education, but making it more engaging, making it more gamified and exciting for young people. But broadly, it comes from such an interest in creating a difference with how people go about managing their money.
Yeah. And when I talked to you, you started exploring finance at such a young age. Like you were doing this in school, trying to teach your friends about it. What inspired you to start taking it so seriously when I feel like most kids, I mean, most adults I talk to are not thinking about money at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question because it is, as you said, an area that isn't tapped into that much. I'm obviously not going to sit here and take full credit myself. I think largely I was very fortunate to have financially educated parents that were really on top of the fact of like they really wanted to make sure that I had that same knowledge and that I was equipped with that from a really young age. And I think they didn't necessarily have that opportunity themselves, and so through their careers and through their adult lives, they grew that skill and valued it so highly that they wanted to impart that on their next generation, make the impact that they could have. And so, yeah, I think from as young as 5 years old, I was earning pocket money, based, which is not uncommon, but I was earning pocket money based on like household jobs that I was doing. But there was the whole principle of valuing saving, right? It was that we had to save half of whatever we earned, no matter what sort of income, whether it was from the jobs, which was maybe $5 a week or something like that, or if it was some birthday money or what have you. We were just taught to save half of it, and so that created that value of not only spending and getting things you want, but thinking about your future self and that delayed gratification part of things. And yeah, so that progressed into when we turned 12, we get to sit down and with dad we started investing. So we bought our first stocks with that money that we'd been saving, and it only really snowballed from there.
That is incredible. And you were telling me that even your friends in school were asking you for financial advice. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So it was certainly a fun time for sure. I slowly started to become more and more engaged in this area, particularly through the COVID-19 pandemic when we were sort of locked in our houses, and especially here in Australia, in the state I live in particular, we had one of the longest periods of lockdown in the world, right? So we were really stuck in the house. For me, I used that more of as an opportunity to start exploring this interest of mine, and so I was posting YouTube videos about finance. I was starting to manage my own portfolio and all those different things. And that grew into something that people knew me for. They knew me as the person that just really was interested in money and investing and everything to do with that. And so people would come to me and ask for advice as they started to earn some income at their first part-time jobs and wanted some guidance in terms of what they should do with that. Obviously, a tricky line to navigate. I'm obviously not a financial advisor in any respect, but for me, it was more so many people just don't have the foundational knowledge to just do the very simplest parts of it all. And so I was like, I'm happy to have some sort of impact. I'm happy to
Yeah.
help out in any way possible. And I'm glad that happened because it slowly built up this passion for educating in that respect.
Yeah, and you talk about YouTube. I mean, you started this, you're still a teenager, but as a
Mm.
younger teenager, you start this YouTube channel about teaching kids about finance. And tell me more about that. Like, how did it take off? Were you getting great responses? Did you go viral? Like, how did that work out?
Oh, look, I won't build it up as anything crazy. It served more so as a conduit for me to channel all this passion and excitement that I had. I think around that time, I started to look into other types of investments because obviously I'd owned stocks and that sort of thing. I didn't know a whole lot about it, but that was what I knew as investing. And I slowly started to realize, oh, well, there's a bit of an issue with the economy. Like everything's crashing, it's going crazy. And so my dad started to teach me a bit more about other types of assets, particularly like gold and silver and precious metals, like more conservative assets. And so I just really dived all into that. I was ordering physical like bullion. I was holding gold and silver in my hand. And for me, I was like, this is really, really powerful for someone like myself, someone young, because I'm actually able to hold my investment. Like I can physically touch it. And so that aspect was super exciting to me. And I just couldn't stop talking about it. And I think I was sort of chewing my family's ear off a bit because I just kept going on and on and on and on about it all day long. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe there are other people that are interested in this and don't have a community similar to how you've identified like such an important community yourself. I'm like, I want to reach out to people and see if there are people that care about this. And so I just started posting videos. It wasn't polished, it wasn't exciting or anything, but as a person growing up in this generation, it's kind of always like the dream to start posting on social media and building that community. Yeah, I started doing that. I was filming almost every day after I'd get off my Zoom class. I would just like start filming something random just because I had so much to talk about and I was just so excited. And even though it might have only run for a year period or something like that, I think I posted nearly 100 videos in that 1 year period just because I had nothing better to do, but also I just really enjoyed it. And yeah, small community for sure. I think we were talking 250 people that were subscribed and a couple hundred views a video, but that for me was everything. That was like night and day. I was overjoyed to have some impact from my perspective and to actually find people
Yeah.
that cared about this sort of thing. And that was really exciting for me.
Yeah, I know you caught that bug. We're going to talk about that later, what that's evolving into. But you talked about the community, and a lot of my listeners are anywhere 40s to 60s. And, they often say, I wish I had started sooner. And
Mm.
yes, I say, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time, though, is now. I mean, what would you say to someone who feels like they missed their window?
I think I primarily focus my attention on younger people because
Mhm.
it is my current position, right? I have the most experience with that, and also I do believe in the power of them starting early. But that doesn't mean that there is not still so much value for everybody out there that is interested in learning about this stuff. Exactly as you said, you can beat yourself all up as much as you want. You can say, "Oh, I should have started sooner." You can do the maths and say, "If I started 10 years earlier, I would have had X amount of money more." You can do all those torturous mind games, but at the end of the day, as you said, if you don't start today, you're just going to be cutting off future gains, right? Like you can't change the past, but you are completely in control of the future. And I think partially, yes, just get started, right? There are plenty of resources and as we are both trying to create more coming out. But at the same time, it's how can you also help to change the way that it's taught to a younger generation? If you're a parent, how can you pass on this knowledge to your kids and help them start earlier, right? That's your lasting impact beyond yourself as well. And I think that's partially why I'm driven to address that audience, but largely anyone, because everybody has an impact on many other people other than themselves.
Right. And that That is a message that I want you and I to carry together, right? If a parent is listening and wants to start introducing financial lessons at home, but maybe they don't feel that they have those skills or they have that
Mm.
knowledge, so they feel inadequate in that area, what's a simple way for them to get started with that conversation, even if they don't feel so confident?
I think part one is you do need to have some level of confidence in yourself. Otherwise, you're not gonna feel authentic in the way you do it. Now, I think the issue there, the gap is that most people feel like there is so much that they need to know to be qualified to teach their kids and to pass it on. There's really not that much. There is a couple foundational pillars, and if you can sort them out and you can learn about them yourselves, we're talking like just not even investing, just like the basics of saving your money and managing your debt effectively and managing your income effectively and your expenses, those sorts of things. It can be as small as if you're starting with your kid, it's even something like what I had. It's have them earn a little bit of pocket money that's correlated to some sort of chore or job so that they learn the value of their work. It's not even that you need them to be doing the dishes or whatever it is. It's more so that they learn, well, yes, we do need them to do the
Yeah.
dishes, but it's to learn the value of like, oh, I'm doing something in exchange for this. But then it's part two. Not only are they earning, but they're also then using their skills to manage that effectively. So they are saving some of that money, but then they're also learning, oh, if I want to buy this thing, I actually now have the ability to do that. It's just that I have to be patient, right? I can't have it straight away. And I think the thing that made it really exciting for me as a younger person was, before this, if I wanted the new toy or whatever, it's just not a reality, right? It's either your birthday or it's Christmas if you're lucky, but otherwise, you don't have the ability to buy things when you're young, right? Aside from if you're in the supermarket and or the grocery store and you ask your parent to buy you a little treat or something, right? And so for me, it was like, even though it might take me 11 months to save up for this new truck, I'm going to be able to save up for it $5 at a time because I now have the ability to like earn and save myself. And so that's all a kid really wants. I think if you start them with that basic amount, where they're learning the value of that, and then also they can see their own powers going to good. It's not just some money that's pooling away that they don't touch, then it can be really powerful. And then it can progress as much as you want it to. I don't think there is a lot of education out there for kids. So unfortunately, it largely does fall on the parents to do most of it. But that can also be a powerful thing, right? It allows you to have some more hands-on experience with it. But again, we both recognize that there isn't enough out there. It's just what can we do for the time being until there is more.
Absolutely. And I like what you said. It's like having that tangible, because money now, it's this imaginary construct.
Yep.
It's this, it doesn't exist, but having something tangible, and you said your gold bullion, that is tangible, but even this writing it down, saying this is how much you have in your account, or having it on a spreadsheet so that they can
Mm.
see it, physically see it coming in and going out and what that looks like. I think that's really powerful, is to have an illustration of it at least, because a credit card,
Yep.
I think I was talking to somebody this weekend, and their child had asked them for something, and they were like, well, we don't have the money for that. They're like, you don't need money, you just go to Amazon. And it was like, well, that costs money. I mean, we just are so used to this digital world. So I thought that was funny. But when we had a conversation before, this is something that I thought if people could just see this, they would get it. We talked about compound interest being like this aha
Mm.
moment for most people. So, how do you explain it in a way that makes it click?
Okay. Yes, good question. Actually, you know what? Relating kind of back to that tree analogy that you mentioned
Yeah.
before is a good way to do it. I think if you visualize it like right now in this moment, you plant a tree, that tree is gonna in time grow up to be a massive tree. So your little starting seed or sapling will grow into something big. People can understand that your money will grow. What people don't necessarily get and what makes compound interest so powerful is that as that tree goes up, imagine it drops other seeds from its leaves and its branches or whatever it is, right? Maybe it's some sort of fruit tree or what have you. Those
Mm.
seeds that it drops will then grow more trees as well over time. It's going to take time, of course, but the point is that you start with a seed, and not only do you grow a big tree, but that tree is also going to grow more trees for you. Compound interest is the idea that you start with X amount of money and you earn interest on it, but then that interest also earns interest for you. And I think I'm going to butcher this, but I heard some quote, I think it might have been from Albert Einstein even, that compound interest is one of those wonders of the world that the human mind just really cannot like compute. We cannot physically imagine the power of compounding to the degree that it is. We can understand that it's powerful, but the human brain just genuinely cannot understand exponential growth. And so the exciting thing about that is that you don't necessarily need to be able to compute it. There are great tools out there that just do the maths for you. But as long as you're able to establish some sort of goal or target or whatever and stick to it, it's just going to work for you in the background. It's kind of like an extra worker and it can
Yep.
be super, super powerful. Like I think the thing that really made me go, whoa, was that if I just invested X amount of money, didn't touch it, doesn't matter how much I start with, but just a certain amount of money, with just like the average annual return of the S&P 500, which is your broad, relatively safe index that just tracks most of the or a large amount of the big US companies, that across like 7 years, just under 7 years, will double your money. Like you haven't done anything, you've just put it aside, forgotten about it, and it's going to essentially double every 7 years. And so the power of that is unfathomable because you don't have the ability to just make time progress itself. And
Yep.
so the more that you can let that do its thing, the more you're going to benefit with literally no effort. It's a little bit of upfront, like maybe picking what you're gonna put it into, but largely, no matter what you're sort of investing in, that compounding is on your side. The
Yes.
alternative is true as well. I think this is the bit that is important. If you're in debt, unfortunately, it compounds negatively against you. And so I think that neither of them are very tangible for us to picture. And so we don't understand how much we could be making. And we also we don't understand how much our debt could be costing us as well.
Yes. And that is a huge thing. I talk all this time about investing, 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 but the reverse of that,
Mm.
most of our country is living paycheck to paycheck, and there's little room to invest. So we have to start there. It's like, how do we structure our finances so that we can come on the reverse side of that and then start growing from there? So that's definitely a thing to consider. But I love your tree analogy. That's perfect. That's
Yeah.
it. That's a great way to do it. And that was Albert Einstein, but I can't quote it either.
Awesome. No, I've heard it, but I don't know the exact
Yeah,
wording.
I couldn't say it either. So I want you to tell us this story because you went to university and decided, you know what? I'm going to teach myself. And you came up with this idea for an app. And we talked about it before, gamification. But why that? And how do you see it helping young people take money more seriously?
I think throughout the last year or two of high school, I don't know if high school means the same thing
Yes.
as it does here, but yeah, just the final years of my schooling, I had this idea of sorts. It wasn't very fleshed out, but it largely stemmed from that passion of financial education. It was I want to make something that is really scalable and that can affect lots and lots of people, not just a couple people through social media videos, or not that alone. And so I knew kind of going into my final years that that was what I wanted to do. And my goal was I'm going to go to university, I'm going to study commerce. Here, your degrees largely are very specific. I don't know how it's structured, but I had the opportunity to do something quite specific to what I was interested in, right? Business and commerce. And I worked hard throughout my schooling and I got into the course and I was really happy with that. And I started my course at the beginning of this year and I was there for just over 3 weeks. And I had the realization that even though this is still stuff that I'm interested in, it's not the journey that's going to get me to creating this impactful platform quickly, right?
Yeah.
Largely, this is me just learning new stuff, not learning stuff that's going to help with the platform. And so I said, okay, here at least we have the opportunity to defer our course. Basically, I can take a gap semester or a gap year and still be enrolled. So I still have that as a fallback if I want to go and return to that course. But I said, quite a low risk decision. Why don't I go and stay true to my passion and really input my time into something that I think could be really powerful? Doesn't work out, no problem. I've had a great year trying something new. Okay. And so it's been a very interesting year for sure. Obviously, I'm young and I'm basically managing myself. I'm an entrepreneur, right? So I'm self-employed and I'm also the owner of the business. And so it largely is a lot of self-exploration in that respect. But slowly and slowly I've been building up towards fleshing this idea out more. And that is this app that is accessible for anyone really, especially younger people, because I looked around as someone that wanted those resources and saw nothing. There was nothing
Mhm.
out there that really addressed my learning style and the knowledge that I needed. A lot of it feels like it's very formal and serious and like overwhelming, particularly for young people, but even for adults as well. Like everything is made to be so convoluted and overwhelming because they are profiting off people being uneducated, right? It isn't in people's best interests. It isn't in, sorry, it isn't in corporations' best interests
Yes.
for the population to be
Mhm.
educated. And so I'm like, okay, cool. So A, there needs to be more resources, but B, there needs to be a new channel of consuming this information. Sure, there's some YouTube videos. There's definitely courses out there. Formats wise, I don't think the people that I see around me are going to be able to benefit from that in a way that they need to. I don't think people are going to sit down and read a book about investing or they're going to watch a full course. I see people around me that can't watch a 20-minute episode of TV. Now, that's a different issue. But if we're talking practically, I'm like, okay, so this needs to be uber engaging and also still have the value, right? So the balance between fun and exciting, but also providing them with a good level of education. And so my solution is let me offer something that is building in micro lessons, but also making it practical. So it's a simulation of sort where you are able to manage your own money. You're able to practice investing without real money as well. You're able to practice budgeting skills, and all throughout that, you are getting practical experience without having to have an income like most people my age do, right? Most people in school aren't working or they're doing something on the side, but it's not a whole lot, and they don't have to worry about these expenses and investing and all that until they're a bit older. This just gives them a chance to learn earlier, and it also makes it way more fun and engaging so that it doesn't feel like a chore. It's something that excites people and it makes them say, okay, I actually understand why this is important and I understand how I can like apply this in my real life.
Yeah. And you said to me it was like a Duolingo for finance. And I think that's a
Yeah,
great way to capture what it is that you're trying to do because you're right. The attention span of not only young people, it's adults too we're we can't do it. We just can't do it. And this is one of those subjects that unless you're like you or me and you're super passionate about it and want to talk about it and learn about it all the time, you're not really excited to sit down and do it. But if you have a way that's short and digestible and fun and gamified, like you said, what a
absolutely.
great way to gain those skills. And I just love what you're doing. I think it's going to be super beneficial to people who choose to engage with that. And it's so needed.
That's
Um,
what I hope. I hope. Yes.
yeah, we all let's do this. You mentioned your age, you said was your unfair advantage. Now, how does that you obviously said like you're connecting with your audience. So how do you think that helps you get them excited?
Yeah, look, I think that I do struggle with the idea that I'm like a young person that's not choosing a traditional path.
What does that even
Most
mean
people,
anymore?
true, true. That's very true. But um, but most people I see around me, at least from my sphere, they go to university. It's just the status quo around here. We have very, very high levels of people that attend university or college here in Australia. And I think that causes issues in terms of credibility and authenticity. It's like, am I qualified to have this value? But then when I really reflect on it, I think that largely I don't think experience in terms of years is what really matters because I think I do have the relevant experience to make an impact on the people that I'm trying to make an impact on. I think that being someone in this stage of life that is younger, I have the perspective to be able to make the biggest change with people around my age or a bit younger because I've really identified like the problem and the pain point that they feel and that I felt so ruthlessly because I was really searching for anything out there and just coming up with nothing. I think that I want to be an example that this is possible, that it is possible to be financially educated at this age, from a young age, and to have that grow and help you throughout their entire life, right? I
Yeah.
think that a lot of people they say, "Oh, it's just so complicated, it's so dense, it's just so much information." I think everyone hates maths, and so it's like it's just more maths. And I'm here, I'm like, it doesn't have to be though. It can be if you like that side of things, if you like getting nitty-gritty and you're really passionate about it, there's so much for you. There is so much to explore, and I want to make that accessible for mini Ethan. But at the same time, there are even more people that are just like, I kind of do get that it's important, but I really just don't understand it. I can't bring myself to learn it. There's something that doesn't click. right? And I think that only grows as you get older and older. It becomes more and more challenging to
Mhm.
deal with it because for a lot of people, that lack of financial education becomes an insecurity. It's like, I don't know how to manage my money effectively, but I know deep down that I should be managing it more effectively. And then it almost turns into self-sabotage. It's like, okay, well, I'm already uneducated. Let me just make terrible decisions on top of it. When these
Yeah.
people are really, they're really capable. They really are. Everybody is capable of changing and learning. It's just that I think that the biggest impact I can make is with people that are my age, right? That's not to say I don't want to help everybody. It's just that I've had that unique experience of learning about finance from such a young age and really loving it. And that I think I stand in a position to connect with those people on a deeper level and come across as like, hey, this isn't that bad. It really can be it can be really great. It can be really powerful. It can be exciting. And I want to make it fun. I want to make it happy and chill and casual and not this like formal, scary process that people think of finance. They think of investment banking, skyscrapers and accountants and all this like really intense stuff. But for the average person, none of that is relevant. The average person, it's a couple core pillars that if you get them right and you can really implement them and build those systems for yourself, you don't even really have to care about it. It's really not that complicated. I just want to
Yep.
make it even less complicated and even easier to start.
Yes. And I'm like, we have the exact same mission because I want to
Yeah.
do the same thing for women and, different audience. You connect with your audience, I connect with mine. We have different reasons for not having these skills. And I said the same thing when I started this. I'm like, this is not something that requires an MBA in finance. This is not
Mm.
crypto bros lesson. Like, we are taking it down to the basics, those core pillars, and teaching systems and
Yes.
strategies. And that's what you need. And I think even with you and I being in different countries, different currencies, those things are the same no matter what.
Hmm.
And so I just love that you're doing it and you're doing it for your audience, and we're able to reach so many people with that message. So I say this all the time that our education system, especially here, is doing us a huge disservice and not teaching any of this. Why are schools around the world not teaching us this stuff? Why? And why, I mean, like,
I asked my
what is that costing us? I mean, this is a huge gap.
Yeah. You're not getting getting at a disagreement from me here.
I'm like, I
No,
don't know why, but
it shocks me. No, it really does. I think that fundamentally you look at it and you go, as someone that has gone through the education part of it and is standing on the other side, I'm like, how is it possible that this is such an important thing that is so heavily overlooked, especially in the schooling system, which exists for the purpose of education? I think that unfortunately, schools, corporations around the world, they are not incentivized to do it. In fact, they are disincentivized to have an educated populace because it makes the money. I think that when you have people that aren't financially educated, it is way easier to convince them to make less informed decisions, not even poorer decisions, but just less informed decisions. I've written this down because I wanted to just really emphasize this point. There are, and unless I've butchered this, there are nearly 20 million students in the US that are enrolled in an undergraduate degree and
Mhm.
studying at college, right? And that average that average graduate is walking out of that undergraduate with just under like $37,000 in debt, in student loan debt.
Oh, that seems low, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the more probably conservative side of
Yeah.
things. For reference, at that age, if left just invested until retirement, that'd be worth $7 million
Thank you.
to that individual. And again, I'm not saying that people shouldn't go to university or go to college or even shouldn't get into that level of student loan debt because there are certainly advantageous situations. But then you also see things like there are over 50% of those graduates that work in a field unrelated to their degree, right? It's not that everybody has to be doing or that they've even thought about it before making the decision
Right.
because it's kind of like I get to have the education now and I don't have to pay for it now. It's kind of like this I get the value in the moment and I don't have to worry about the costs until later. But the impact of that decision can be very significant, right? It's the fact that that debt firstly has potential upside, lots of opportunity cost in the sense that that could be worth more, but then also people don't realize that it's growing as well in the background and that they
Mhm.
are going to have to pay more than $37,000 in the course of the repayments because of that interest. And I just think it's insane I think it's insane that people at this age are able to make that decision without having the relevant information and that that's even allowed. Like, I feel like the fact that there's not some sort of class or education through school that prepares people to make these life-changing financial decisions
Yeah.
at such a young age is shocking. I think that I mean I could go on and on, but
I agree with you. And even, you pair that with student debt, I say it all the time. I'm like, how are we letting 18-year-olds decide the trajectory of our life? It even in you have to
yeah,
pick a major, you have to pick a direction at 18. I'm
mm,
like, I wanted to be on Broadway at 18. Here I
yeah,
am. And that would have been fun. But here we are later and we look back at our life and all these decisions that we made at that age. If but then I think, would I have listened?
yep,
If someone had come in at that age and told me all of this that you and I are saying now, would I have listened? And I can't answer that. I hope that people would, giving them the data of this, like if
yep.
you had this $37,000 over here, you would have this much. I think that says a very clear message of how this stuff works. So this has been an awesome conversation. I can't wait to see what develops out of your app and
Me
your
too.
education program. Me too. Do you have like a time frame? I know you're teaching yourself all of it. You're teaching yourself the coding. You're teaching yourself how to build all of this stuff. You're
Mm.
brilliant, obviously. So are you just kind of, let's see how far we go with this?
Yeah, look, it's currently indefinite in some respects. I don't see myself caring about anything else for a while. It's something that I really do identify with. In terms of when you can expect to be able to actually use the platform, unfortunately still relatively up in the air purely because of the fact that I have no technical background, but I am rapidly trying to learn and teach myself. And I'm currently working on an MVP version that's looking exciting. It's
Nice.
fun. And so yes, definitely nothing that I can give in solid terms right now. But if you do want to stay tuned, I'll give a little plug. I will be present over at Ethan Williams Finance if you want to look for updates there. And so that's sort of my conduit for anything related to this and also just financial education in general. But hopefully, app coming sooner than I expect. So potentially sometime late next year.
Beautiful. And we will put that link in the show notes so you guys can all go check him out. And any investors listening who want to check out that MVP later and see that, we'll do that.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap this up, if you could leave one piece of financial advice for both a teenager and or their parent, what would it be?
Okay. I think money is a very difficult topic. I think that everybody has a very different opinion on it, very different relationship with it. I think the emotion is often undervalued. It's maths, but it's also emotion. People have attitudes towards it that they don't even recognize. Fundamentally, you should give yourself the space to explore what your relationship looks like with money, and discover what it looks like for you, right? What that will look like for you, and then adapt your systems, your financial education journey, and your finances to suit that. If you're somebody that is really interested in investing and really cares about it, great. Use that excitement to fuel you. Use it as an opportunity for you to put in extra time researching which investments are best for you and look at different routes and use that as like your momentum. But at the
Mhm.
same time, if you identify that you really aren't someone that likes this stuff, you're not that interested in the mathy side of things, but you do understand that it's probably important to care about it, that's fine too. You don't have to care, just identify that you're not someone that necessarily wants to be super involved in it and set up systems that take care of it for you. You can set up auto transfer from your bank account to your stockbroker and then have auto buy set up for your investment portfolio. So it can literally all just be done for you. You don't even have to worry about it. Obviously, there's a little bit of upfront learning, which is the bit that I'm trying to take care of, is the
Mhm.
teaching stuff. But if you can just spend a little bit of time building some core knowledge and then just set it up, you don't even have to worry about it. You can let it do its own thing. So, regardless of your attitude, I think that you should see it as something approachable. You should see it as an opportunity that you are capable of taking, and that also regardless of how old you are as well, you are perfectly, there is no reason you cannot be doing this. There is nothing stopping you. And it just comes down to being in line with how you actually feel about it. Don't convince yourself that you like it. If you don't have to like it. Just, I think, build a better relationship with yourself and your relationship with money so that you feel confident to do this.
Man, we read from the same Bible. I love it. I love it
Love
so
it.
much. All right. Thank you for joining us today, Ethan. This was a fantastic conversation. I love what you're doing. I love your message because it's just like mine. And I know people are going to get a lot out of this conversation because a lot of my listeners have kids, and this is something they don't feel confident in. And that's why they're here. That's why they're part of this community. And if we can create that confidence to just start having those conversations and create this family system of this is just who we are and this is what we do and this is what we talk about, it changes the trajectory of everyone. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for all the work you're putting into this. And yeah, just thank you for doing this podcast with me. I really appreciate it.
It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. All right. Good luck.
Thank you
Bye.
very much.
I could not love that kid more. I have, met him across Zoom, and like I said, we're reading from the same Bible, and he understands this message so clearly, and I'm just grateful for him and what he's doing to teach kids about this stuff that is so important. And he made a great message is why are they not teaching us this stuff is because they're incentivized not to. They're making money on our debt and they're making money on our uninformed decisions. And I just want to highlight that again before we end this episode. And our way to step into that power and change the trajectory comes from educating ourselves, learning this stuff. And, inside of our challenge that we just ran, we talked about those systems. He was talking about making it on autopilot. We're learning those systems inside of our community. We're talking about how to get on autopilot, how to turn that compounding interest into something that just works while you sleep. These are the tools and strategies that you don't have to have all that huge wealth of knowledge about to make it work for you. It's just those little steps at a time and building that confidence. So I will keep spreading this message. I think it is so important for everyone, and I'm grateful to Ethan for joining us here on the podcast today. I hope you continue to expand your empire, and I will see you here next week. If this lit something up, share it, review it, and get in the room. Join the Expand Your Empire community and start turning wisdom into wealth. You're not too late, and you're not doing this alone.